If you clicked on this video because you want to get into Deadlock, but you don't even own the game, or you own the game and you don't know which hero to pick, or you don't know how to play, you are in the right place. What's up, fans? This is Metro. I've been playing Deadlock for over a year on very high level, and today we're gonna go over everything Deadlock. From how to get in, how to play, what builds to use, how to win, how to get better, what's OP. So this is gonna be a long yapping session, and we'll get right into it. If I miss anything, please let me know in the comments. But first and foremost, your friend told you about Deadlock, and you don't even own the game. How do you get in? Well, all you need to do is ask one of your Steam friends to give you an invite, okay? Anyone that owns the game can send you an invite over the Steam friend list here. Now, if you don't have any friends, that's also really easy to fix. In my Discord, link below in the comments, people send out invites daily. You just go in there, post an invite link, or come into my Discord, be like, can I get an invite? And you will get an invite. But let's assume you have the game and you start the game for the first time, or you've been playing for a few hours, days, and you really don't know anything. The main question I always get for new players: what hero should I play? To cut it short, you should play whatever you feel like enjoy playing. There's a ton of different characters in the game that do different things. So I would really recommend you go for what feels right to you, right? The characters, when you click on them in the roster, you have to select the 3 minimum. They tell you what they do. You can check their abilities. I like shooting my gun. I came from a shooter background. I played Overwatch. So I went for gun characters, right? Like Haze, Assassin, Stealthy, Lethal, and she does more gun damage. Or something like Wraith, and you can do the exact same thing. You can play tanky characters if you want to play tanks. If you come more from a MOBA background, there's a lot of characters that actually don't require much aim at all, right? Deadlock, the beauty about Deadlock is that it's really a mix between a MOBA and a shooter. And if this is your first MOBA, don't be scared. There's going to be lots to learn, but I think the learning and figuring out how a MOBA works is the most satisfying, the most fun part about the game for me. So yeah, just go for what you enjoy. Another question I always get is, which hero is OP right now? Valve is actually really good at balancing the characters. At a certain point, there are characters that are better than others, and some characters are easier to get into than others, but it always comes back to, you should probably play what you enjoy, right? I like brawly shooting characters, right? So I play Wraith, I play Billy right now a lot, I play Drifter. Victor just released, I play Victor, I play Haze, and you don't have to start with more than one or a minimum of 3 characters. Which brings me to my next point. If you want to learn the game on a basic level, or you want to get better fast, it is better to stick to a few characters first, right? You can always expand your roster later. A big mistake I see a lot of people do if they want to learn the game fast is they try every single character, which you can do, don't get me wrong, but they try to learn and play every single character, and that's going to take you a long time, right? Most players, if not, and there's no single player in the game that is really good on every hero in the game, right? There is too many, and people specialize in what they enjoy, right? So I would recommend to go for a few characters. Again, you have to select 3 at the start if you want to play a game. By the way, if you are scared to play against real people at the very start, you can go into a bot match and figure out the abilities, and you can leave those without penalty, I'm pretty sure. But you can go into a bot match if you want to play against bots, if it's too much pressure to play against real players, and figure out what you want to play this way. The way you select characters in the select screen is, you need to pick a minimum of 3, but you can high priority someone. So if you select a character, select them as white, and then you can right click them and up their priority up to 2 up arrows, right? Which means the chance of you getting this character is going to be way higher. So I could prioritize, if I really want to play Holiday, I could prioritize Holiday and then pick 2 other characters in white, right? If you don't care about that, don't worry about priority. But this way you can kind of guarantee, or not guarantee, but you have a very high chance of getting the character you want still, right? Because there might be other characters, players in the game that want to play exactly what you want to play at the same time. And that's why we have this select screen where you have to select different characters in case the game can't find you a match with your specific character. Bit of a caveat to that, right now we are in a period where there's 6 new heroes released. So if you want to play one of the new heroes, you need to select at least 3 old heroes to be able to play, right? But for older heroes, you just have to select 3, and that's all you need. Let's say you landed on 7, right? And you get into the game and you look at this item menu and you have no clue what's going on. there's so many different items. What do you do? Well, Deadlock has a feature which is really, really cool, which is a build browser, okay? And in this build browser, you can sort by popular builds in the game, okay? And all you have to do is select one that looks nice to you, click on new selected build, and it's gonna tell you what to do, or what to buy. There is a caveat to that, right? The popularity of a build is basically decided by how many people like the build / played the build. So sometimes builds sneak in that are really popular that are actually not that good. So how do you figure out which build is good and which build is bad? And I might get some backslash for this. Look at really good players, pro players, or streamers, right? Those builds are almost always solid. There is some other imposters that fake people's builds or make trash builds on purpose and then make them popular, and then like the average new player picks the build and it's bad. So you really want to go for a build that is high up on the leaderboard, but also has a good player with the name behind it. And you have to hover over the player and you can see this is the real Zergy. He just changed his name to Goonman. So, and you can't really go wrong if you're a new player to just select this build. What does this do for you? So in Deadlock, obviously there is level ups from your abilities, right? At the start of the game, you have to select one skill. Very soon after, you unlock one after another, all 4. But then you have to make choices while leveling up on which to level first. And this can be very overwhelming for a lot of players, including like players that have played the game for a long time on a new character, right? It doesn't always seem apparent what to level. So what these builds do on the build pages is they not only will tell you what to buy item-wise, they will also tell you what abilities, in what order you should level the abilities. And in-game, it's gonna give you like a little prompt that's gonna say suggested. And so you don't really have to think at all for yourself. That's gonna cut the entire build crafting system out. And if you're worried about optimizing your builds, which you can, right? That's something that comes way down the line. You can get all the way up to Eternus, like literally the highest rank in the game, by just following someone else's build, right? Not everyone that plays the game on high level is good at build crafting, and not every build crafter is a good player, right? So what I'm saying is, do not worry too much about builds and countering the enemy until you get like way more into the game. And at what point, when you have like multiple hundreds of hours, hopefully, if you enjoy the game, at that point you can start worrying about counters. But at that point you will also have learned over time, you know, like some of the intricacies of the game. So at the start I would recommend you just follow the build, and again in game it's going to tell you what to level up. So over the span of the game, you will level up your abilities like the build tells you. It's going to say suggested every time you get a level up. It's going to blink. It's going to be very intuitive and easy for you, right? So you don't have to worry about any of that. And all you really have to do is buy these items. Now, obviously, these items do stuff. And when you select the build, you want to read what the items do at least, right? So you know what they do. This is very important, especially for actives. There's active items in the game, up to 4 you can have in your build, that also have an effect that is activated, where you have to press a button. So Cold Front, one of the very popular skills, just creates like an ice aura around you that slows the enemies down and deals damage to them, right? But also something like, if you know what Suppressor does, then you know, oh, I just bought Suppressor. It's gonna reduce the enemy fire rate when I shoot them with my 7, right? So I'm gonna be better against gun characters at that point, okay? But otherwise, you follow the builds left to right usually. Again, some builds let you decide, but like left to right is the most simple way. And you should not be struggling. And as long as your gameplay is on par, you will do great with, you know, almost all of these popular builds. And that's everything you need to know, right? Now you have a build, you know what to buy or in what order. Well, you don't know what to buy, but the game is going to tell you. And you'll jump into the game and play against bots or play against real players. If you're new, welcome. The game is amazing. It's really fun. And genuinely, I think the community is one of the nicer mobile communities. I know a lot of people say everyone is toxic, including myself. But the community, I think, in Deadlock is really fucking nice. We have a really nice community right now. You will struggle at the start. You will go up against players that have way more time than you, right? And you will lose games. But that's going to be a learning experience, right? Your rank is going to get adjusted. There's a hidden rank. If you don't want to, you don't have to see it. If you want to see your rank, you can set up show average team rating after a match. And then if you click on your profile, you can also see your rank as a skill rating in if you click on skill rating, and you can also look at every rank. So don't be discouraged if you start in the lowest ranks. If you start Initiate, Seeker, Alchemist, everyone started somewhere, and over time you'll climb if you get better. Before we even start worrying about the game in lane, a few intricacies that Deadlock has that other games don't have that will help you drastically knowing this early. There is a lot of movement in this game, okay? Characters can move very fast in this game depending on what items to buy, but even on base level, there's a stamina bar, okay, that you see on the, like, around my crosshair. And the stamina bar is gonna let you do dashes and jumps, okay? So a very basic movement is one jump is always free, but if you want to do a double jump, you do a double jump and it takes 1 stamina. Some characters have more stamina on base, some have less. You can also upgrade your stamina later, but there's basic movements. One is a jump and one is a dash, okay? A dash is just gonna be you pressing your shift usually. That's the normal setting, and it's gonna allow you to move around the map faster. Now, you can combine the dash with a jump after. So if you time it correctly and you jump, then dash, dash and then jump, you will perform a jump dash, which is basically a chain of movement where you use 2 stamina, but you move very far. And that's like the basic fast movement you can learn. So after a dash, you can hold crouch to slide. If you have enough velocity, you will always slide, okay? What that means is you just dash and then you slide and you just go around the map faster that way, right? And you can especially use that if you're going down like a stairs, which there are a lot of high grounds and low grounds in this game, right? So what you can do is you can hold crouch and slide down the stairs and extend your slide that way. You can also do the same thing if you have enough movement upwards, but as you saw, I stopped very fast, right? And you don't even need to dash. If you want to walk down the stairs, right? Normally people would walk down, but you can just hold crouch here and you will slide down very easily, very simple. That's all I'm really going to tell you about movement, because there's a ton of really good movement guides out, and movement in this game becomes really advanced, but it's really something you want to learn over time by just playing, okay? And there are really good movement guides out. There's wall jumps, jump dashes, but if you look up on YouTube, if you look for a Deadlock movement guide, you can learn everything you want. And I'll say this, I'm known for how terrible my movement is compared to the average Eternal 6 player, and I'm still the highest rank in the game, right? So it's not the most important thing in the world, but it will help you massively on specific characters to get around the map faster, right? To escape the enemy, to engage the enemy, to chase the enemy. But it's just really something I would recommend you just play around with. Now we have that down. What happens? You queue up and you go into the game. How is the game structured? So, on a very base level, Deadlock is a MOBA. If you don't know what a MOBA is, if you've never played League or Dota, very comparable to that. There's 3 lanes on the map. Lanes are basically ways where creep waves spawn, and they clash in the middle of the wave, and they push one way or another. And you, as a player, you will be assigned to one of the 3 lanes randomly at the start of the game with a teammate. So for the very first few minutes of the game, which is called the laning stage, you will go up against the enemy on a lane, which is a 2v2 usually, right? You have 2 players on the lane and the enemy has 2 players on the lane. And the simple goal of you in lane is to get money, to get items, and to ideally kill their guardian before they kill yours. The guardian is the first line of defense on both sides, and eventually, you want to push the lane to a point where you're in the enemy base and you kill their patron. That's how you win the game, right? But that's not something you have to worry about during laning. Laning, basically, you wanna not die, kill the enemy, kill the guardian, and get money. Not in a specific order, okay? And the way you get money is you shoot creeps, right? And the creeps, they spawn souls. And when you shoot these souls and you secure them, they will give you money. And with that money, you will buy items, and the more items you have and the more money you have over the enemy, the more powerful you will feel, right? That doesn't mean if you're behind in money, you will never win against an enemy, but, he will have an advantage. So this is just a practice range, obviously, but you're gonna be on the lane and creeps will spawn. And all you have to worry about with creeps is hitting this soul that pops out of the creep. And the way the soul works is, it will pop out as a black aura, and as soon as it turns the teal or the bright green color is when you want to shoot it, right? And whoever shoots it first gets the money. So that means the enemy can deny your souls, but it also means you can deny the enemy's souls, right? So if a soul pops up on your end, you can deny those too. They're not spawning right now because there's no enemy player around, but usually when your creeps die, there will also be souls popping up. But your number one priority should really be securing your own souls, because that's the most money you'll get, okay? And we can start worrying about denying later. And that's more advanced technique because you can decide between, you know, shooting the enemy player and trying to deny their souls. And that's just gonna come over time. So, number one priority, you shoot the enemy creeps and you secure your souls, because those give you money. That's also the simplest way to win the lane. There's something called pushing the lane, right? Where both waves end up in the middle, like right here. And if you shoot, right, and you help your creeps out, and you shoot the enemy creeps, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna push towards the enemy tower, right? Because I just killed the creeps. And that means now the tower is being sieged, and this tower usually does a lot of damage to a player at the start of the game. But because there's creeps in front of you, you can, you know, I was able to shoot the tower without the tower damaging me, right? And if you do this enough times in a row, where you just keep up the pressure and you shoot the enemy creeps, right, and get last hits, and you do this faster than the enemy, you will end up at the enemy tower a lot, right? And if you end up at the enemy tower, as long as you are behind your creeps, you will be able to shoot the tower or shoot the enemy players, and the tower will not aggro you. It will not shoot you, right? So as long as I keep my distance here, as long as I have creeps, I will be able to get damage on the tower. Now, that being said is, if you are in front of your creep or you don't have creeps, the tower will aggro you. So if I step in front of this now, it will immediately aggro me, right? Notice how it will always aggro what's closest. And you see, on low level, this tower does ridiculous damage. And if I go melee range, it will also melee me and kill me instantly. Basically, you want that tower dead, because it will give your team an opening on the map. It will give you and your lane partner money. And then the enemy, two players that were in the lane against you, don't have a defense. They don't have the safety of the tower anymore, right? So the most basic way to win the lane is just pushing the enemy creeps faster than they push you. There's a lot of deeper strategies, right? There's certain comps where you want to kill the enemy players over and over, right? And farm them. And then there's strategies where you're pretty weak in lane, like some characters are pretty weak in lane, and you want to defend. But on a very basic level, 99% of the time, the best play on basic level, and the play that will get you all the way up to like Phantom Plus, like high rank, above average rank, is just shoving wave, killing the enemy creeps first, fast, and then putting damage on the tower, right? And when you can, when there's players there, putting damage on the enemy. And if you do this well enough, you will kill the tower, and the laning stage is gonna end, right? During that laning stage, obviously, it's not as simple as I just described, because there's gonna be enemies. They have abilities, you have abilities. And, you know, over time you will have to learn what every enemy does. I can't, you know, make a video. I could, but it would be like 8 hours where I can tell you every single character and what they do in lane, right? But that's like things you will learn over time, and that's like part of the fun in this game. Especially fun in learning. But the good thing is, if you stick to a few characters like I told you or suggested you at the start of the video, you will learn what you can get away with on the character pretty well, right? Like for example, 7, I have an ability called Power Surge, which lets me shock multiple enemies if they're close together, right? So I can do a lot of damage to enemies that are closer together, so I can shove the wave pretty fast, right? Otherwise it's pretty weak. But that's the laning stage. And that's all you really need to know about the laning stage, I think. And, you know, you will learn that over time. But next question I get a lot is, what do we do after? Like, let's say you won the lane and you killed the Guardian, right? Like, let's say it's 8, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, and you killed the enemy Guardian first. Or the enemy killed your Guardian, right? Let's say it's 6 minutes and you got rolled and your Guardian is dead. What do you do? Well, that all depends on what your hero does. Some heroes want to sit on the lane and farm. They need a lot of money to get online. And some heroes don't really need a lot of money, and they can do a lot early, right? They're called early game roamers, gankers. And that's where the term support, carry, etc. comes in. So you want to know what your character does when you get into it. You could probably look up a tutorial of that character in specific that you selected. And I'm sure there's a lot of good tutorials for every character out at this point, right? There's a lot of new content being made. So you look at a tutorial and you realize your character is a farmer. At that point, right, you won the lane. So what your lane teammate should do is he leaves you alone, you sit on the lane alone and get farm, right? You will get roughly double the souls because you're alone in lane. Now the creeps that you kill all of the money will go to you instead of being shared for 2, and your teammate can go help other lanes win their lanes as well, right? On the other side, if you are like a ganker and you win the lane or you lose the lane, you can start rotating, walking across the map and going to another lane and looking for a kill there. Or if you can't find a kill there, you can push the enemy tower as 3, help your team out and kill that tower, right? And that's like the stage right after laning stage, which is like the early mid game, where some heroes will farm and some heroes will rotate and look for kills, right? And that's just hero specific, but it's also playstyle specific. I want to say that, right? Even if you play a carry character, you can still, if you want to, if you're an aggressive player, you can still gank, which is ganking is coming over to another lane and winning the lane for your team. So you go over to another lane, kill those players ideally, or if you don't kill them, you push the tower and help your other teammates win that lane, right? And that's the early mid game, basically. You either farm or you gank. Now, farming in this game is a bit, I was gonna say different than other MOBAs, but like, let's assume you don't even know what a MOBA is. Farming, there's a thing called jungle. It's these creeps. There's a lot of them on the map, and there's also things called sinner sacrifices. You can see them on the map on the bottom right. You see icons. There's a 1 arrow icon, a 2 and a 3. That's a tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 camp. And the higher the tier, the harder it is to kill, but the more money it will give you. And then there's a little box with a dot in the middle, and that's a sinner sacrifice. This is this thing, okay? So yeah, let's say it's 8-9 minutes. You just finished your laning stage, and you're actually reasonably farmed. Let's say you have like 7k, right? And you will have a few level ups at this point. So let's assume the left tower is dead. Yeah, so as I said, on the map, there's camps, multiple, right? The squares are sinner sacrifices, and the 3 arrow up is a tier 3 camp. Then there's tier 1s and tier 2s. Tier 1s are the easiest. They really give very little money, and they spawn really early in the game, and they're almost never worth going for unless you're like on the way through. They're very easy to kill, but again, they give you very low amounts of money. It's like almost nothing. Tier 2s become a bit tougher. They are tankier, and you will a lot of the time want to use abilities to kill them, right? Depending on the hero you are. But they will also give you a lot more money. Almost double than a tier 1 camp actually. And then there's tier 3s, which there's even differences between tier 3s. So tier 3s, they have at least one of those big creeps. And if I shoot that big creep, you're gonna notice this creep is gonna be very tanky, right? I'm only shooting this creep, and my splash damage is killing the small creeps before that big creep even dies, right? And notice how, you know, I almost died there because tier 3 camps are way harder to kill, but they will also give you a lot more money. So you don't necessarily want to go for those early. But once you are powerful enough, you will be able to go for even the biggest camps, which is a camp which has 3 massive big creeps, right? But again, the more money you get, the more you buy, the stronger you will get, and the faster you will clear creep camps. So this is a way to get around the money, the map farming. At 2 minutes, the small camps spawn, so you can even do them during the laning stage. At 6 minutes, the medium camps spawn, so the tier 2s, in case you're already powerful enough to farm them. A lot of the time I would say at 6 minutes, no character is fast enough to farm them yet. But a big part is at 8 minutes, these sinners will spawn, okay? And they are like the biggest source of souls for you know, the time invested. And the way these work is, you punch them with a heavy melee, and they will drain life from you. But if you punch them fully, they will give you a lot of money, okay? So they will make a sound. And as long as you keep on punching them, they dispense money, basically. But here's the trick. At the last punch, the 5th punch, you're gonna see this animation, which is boop, 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 boop. And if you heavy melee at the correct time, you will get 4 buffs that last for the entirety of the game, which is random. What you want to do is, you want to punch this sinner when the 3rd light here lights, or the 3rd to last light lights up, okay? So what you do is, you start the heavy melee there, and notice how I got 4 buffs here, which was, now I have permanently extra health, I have more spirit, and there's multiple buffs. There's cooldown reduction for your abilities that last forever, fire rate, weapon damage, ammo, so more gun ammo, right? And then health, spirit power, And that's it, I think. I miss. Unless I miss something, like cooldown reduction. Yeah. So these sinners are insanely valuable for you to farm. And there's also a sinner, a double sinner in here. This is like the best place in the map to farm, okay? There's one small creep that you kill, and then you can farm 2 of those sinners. So what you can do is, I'm gonna go over the basic version now. You just punch them, right? There is an advanced technique that I have to mention because I get this question every single time I stream. So there's a trick you can do, which is you heavy melee one sinner once, then you finish the other sinner with the upgrade. So we're looking at the third last light. Now we punch. And now, if we keep on punching this as fast as possible, we don't even have to look. It should light up to get another buff, like that. And that's why I punch one sinner first and then punch the other one and then finish the last one. It's pretty tight timing. You'll have to get the timing down. They changed melee timings a bit, so it's a bit inconsistent. It's an advanced technique, and I don't know why I mentioned it in this video. But yeah, sinners, TLDR, give you a lot of money, give you a lot of gold. That being said, even if you're a farmer and you want to gain money a lot, the most efficient farm is still on the lane, okay? The lane creeps that spawn from you and the enemy give you the most money, bang per buck. They're very easy to kill and they give you more than any jungle, especially in the early game, right? Later in the game, if we're getting to like 20-30 minutes, you can clear jungle very fast because you're so powerful, but especially early, these the lanes are the most important. And it's also the most important for you to win the game. So that was a jungle example. What if I'm on a character like Abrams, right? Abrams is a tanky character that has an ability, a shoulder charge, where you can pin an enemy to the wall, right? And then he has an aura around him that drains the enemy life. This character is very, very good at tanking, but also very good at roaming. So let's say you play Abrams and you won the lane. After lane, right, you can come and rotate over into the middle lane, right? And then maybe look from the sides and look for kills on the enemy, right? And then come in from the side, the enemy's occupied, they're fighting right now, and you come in from the side, right? You hit a shoulder charge, and your team is suddenly 3v2 on this lane. You get the kills, and then you also kill this tower, right? And the more towers you kill over the enemy, the more map control you have, the more money you will get. And the more money you'll get, the more powerful you are. The more powerful your auto attacks, the more powerful your abilities. And that's how you get ahead and how you win the game in this game. You wanna stop the enemy from taking your objectives. Why? Why do you want to stop the enemy from taking your objectives? Well, let's assume, I'll do this real quick. Let's assume the enemy tower here dies, right? Let's assume you win the lane. Suddenly, what happens is, right? You are sitting on the side lane. Let's say you are the player that stays. You're sitting here. You can farm under the safety of your tower, right? You wait until the creep wave pushes into you. You farm that creep wave, right? After the creep wave is dead, you can maybe go over here, get a tier 2 camp real quick, right? So you get extra money, like you take the downtime between waves and farm a tier 2, and then you come back and the next wave spawns. Sadly, in this version of the map, in the Explore version, there is no waves, right? I would have to show you in a bot game, but you can be safe because you still have a tower here, and it's going to be very hard for the enemy to kill you with the tower. Whereas the enemy, right, if they're over here, they have no safety. So if you come in and a teammate joins you and you kill them, right, or you try to kill them, they have to walk all the way back to their walker to be safe. And by the time they're there, they might die, right? And the same goes for the second objective, right? I can't kill it here in the practice range. Well, I could if I cheated. Or bought more items, but usually, like, when this walker dies, right, the map opens up more. That also means me, as my team here on the yellow lane, I can go and start farming the enemy jungle, right? And this is a camp on the enemy side of the map, if you look at the map, right? It's past the halfway point if you draw a virtual line across the map. So by me killing this camp here, I just took money from the enemy, right? Because this is not technically my jungle, right? Now, the enemy could do the same thing to yours, but let's say you're the enemy and you go into my jungle, right? Like, let's pretend I'm an enemy player and I go over here and invade this jungle. It is very easy for my team to come, hear that someone is shooting, right? Let's say I'm the player on the lane and I hear shooting in my jungle and I see on the map it's not my team, right? It's very easy for me to just take the zipline and like jump over there, right? And like, I'm there immediately. And again, I have the safety of my towers to back up, right? So basically, objectives give you map control. And more map control means you will get more kills on the enemy. and you will get more money because you will be able to steal enemy farm. Okay, that's why objectives are the most important, and that's why you always should make sure your waves, the lanes, the creeps that come in, you kill them first. And you should always prioritize lanes over jungle, okay? Don't AFK jungle farm. Try to be as efficient as possible, even if you're a farmer, right? You clear the wave, go to jungle, etc. Now, also, there's 4 hidden, or not hidden, locked slots, okay? You can buy up to 8 items at the start of the game, but sometimes you're gonna get to a point where you just don't have a slot, okay? And you really want to buy something, and then you're kind of screwed, right? You would have to sell like a lower item to buy something, but eventually you will need, you know, like then, oh, do I really want to sell this item? No, right? Like eventually you need another slot. So how do you get the slots? Very simple. You need to kill all 3 enemy guardians for the first slot. The second flex slot unlocks after you kill at least 1 walker. The third flex slot is killing all 3 enemy walkers. And the fourth flex slot is killing the enemy base guardians, okay? I'll show this real quick on my side of the map because I don't want to run into enemy and die to the towers, right? So this is the walkers, which is like the second line of defense. They're very tanky compared to guardians, and they do a lot more damage, and they can stun you if you get too close. So you want to be careful about pushing those. And then there's the last line of defense, which is these 2 base guardians. And as soon as your team kills 1 set of these base guardians, there's 3 sets, right? On every lane, there's 1 set here, 1 set in the middle, and 1 set on left. If they kill that, you have the 4th flex slot unlocked, and then the game is going to look like this, where you have all flex slots and you can buy more items, okay? There is a KD in this game, right, where there's kill, death, assist, and in other shooters, it's usually a good indicator of how well you do. In this game, it's not. The average bad player and new player, and even the average like good player right now, worries too much about dying or their KD. Do not worry about your KD, right? I can give you multiple examples of why your KD doesn't matter. Your team is like across the map, farming, fighting, right? And you see that there's an opening on the yellow walker, right? So you walk up to the yellow walker and you start shooting it, right? And the enemy sends people to defend, but you end up killing the walker before they kill you. And you have 1 more death. And let's say you suddenly didn't really fight before and you're 0-1, right? Really easy example. A lot of people would be like, shit, I died, it's bad. But that was an amazing play for your team, right? Not only do you get a lot of money from the walker, you opened up the map, you gave your team a flex slot, right? You gave your team more control. You also forced 4 of the enemy players to come to you and kill you, right? Sometimes trading your own life for the enemy is completely worth it. In a fight where both teams are around even, but you're kind of poor as a player, right? Let's say you had a bad start and you kind of don't have a lot of money. If you trade your life with someone that has more money than you, that's worth for your team. Because you will get more money than the enemy. Because if you have less money than the enemy, you will get more gold. It's called comeback gold, right? Because the game wants to give people a chance to come back. So let's say you're poor and you trade with someone 1 for 1. You killed 1 of the enemies and they kill you back. But you have less money. You will have gained more money from that interaction than the enemy player, right? So deaths are not bad, okay? Don't worry about your KD. The only thing you should really worry about is 2 stats in the game that you can see, okay? And these stats are the stats that matter, okay? This is the damage you dealt to enemy players, and this is the damage you dealt to enemy objectives. And some characters, like Wraith, deal a lot of damage to objectives, right? So they're always going to be naturally higher, right? But if you are like a person that has like no objective damage at the end of the game after you lost, you probably played the game incorrectly. That means you never actually tried to attack an enemy objective, right? That means you never really tried to get ahead, right? Of course there's exceptions, but basically this is the only 2 stats you should worry about. At this game, funnily enough, right? I have 8 kills, 10 deaths, and I still probably, I mean, I could look at the replay, that would be too much right now. I probably still hard carried my team because I just had the most damage and I also healed the most, so I absorbed the most damage too, right? And my KD is bad, technically, right? It's 8-10, right? Like if you worry about KD, like you could say this Haze did way better than me, but he's 8-2, and again, it's dependent from game to game, right? But 8-2, but he really didn't do his job. You want to know why? Because Haze is a high damage dealer, and he should definitely, if he played as well as I did, he should have more damage than me as a damage dealer. So TLDR, don't worry about your KD. Okay, let's say you played the game out, you have been farming, you have been playing the game well, and it's still kind of stale, right? Like the enemy is farming too, you have a lot of money, the enemy has a lot of money, and both teams like kind of trade kills back and forth, right? Like let's say it's an even game. How do you actually end up finishing the game, right? A lot of people, especially new players, at that point are like, I don't know what to do anymore, and let's say there's one last walker on the enemy, right? Like let's say middle walker is dead and right walker is dead, and the only walker that's left is this walker here on the yellow lane. What I see a lot of new players do is they send 6 people, the entire team, right, to kill this one walker. But you have to keep in mind, the enemy also has to only worry about that, right? Like, as long as you're not attacking their base, that's the last line of defense for them, right? So they will all come to defend. And if you fight under the walker, your own walker, you will get resistances, right? You will have more spirit and more bullet resist, so you will be naturally tankier than usual, okay? So it's very hard to fight under the enemy walker, because the walker can also stun you, laser you, and do a lot of damage to you, right? And which I guess we can get into right now. You should always try to help your teammates, right? I think I didn't mention yet, right? Like I said, lane priority number 1, right? So you want to shoot lanes and make sure your objectives don't die. That's priority number 1. And priority number 2, over jungle should always be helping your teammates. Unless you're like really low HP, if you see a teammate of you fighting close to you, join up, right? A 2 versus 1, even if you're like worse mechanically because you're new, you will probably win because you have double the health of the enemy, right? Or a 4 versus 2, you will probably win, right? Even a 4 versus 3, you're most likely gonna win. So you wanna show up for teamfights and you wanna help out your teammates, no matter who they are, no matter if you hate them or like them, if they behave like assholes in game or not. There's one more objective around the map right now that I haven't talked about, and it's called mid-boss, okay? And mid-boss is basically, it's this game's version of Roshan from Dota, or whatever the dragon in League is called, right? So what mid-boss does is, it's a big enemy creep in the middle. It spawns at 10 minutes, okay? And then after you kill it, it spawns every, I don't want to lie, another 8 minutes after that. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But anyways, when this mid-boss is up, right? Your team can decide to kill it. Okay, it's very tanky. Usually you won't be able to solo it. The reason I am right now is because the mid-boss is very low level, because it's early in the game and I bought a lot of items, right? You will usually not be able to solo this, so you probably need your team. But you want your team around anyways, and there's gonna be a rejuvenator dropping, okay? And at the point it's touching down here, as soon as you see that green aura and the music stops, in the middle is when you secure the buff. And the only way to secure the buff is with a heavy melee, right? So you can't shoot it, you can't light melee it, you will need to heavy melee it like this. And it's gonna give your team the rejuvenator buff, which is marked up here. And the catch in this game, in this iteration of the game right now is, why did the boss respawn? Oh no. Let me kill it again real quick. Obviously it doesn't respawn in a real game like that, right? The catch of this is, you can punch this rejuvenator up to 3 times for the first mid-boss, and then up to 4 times for every mid-boss after that, okay? So it can give you up to 3 buffs early, and later up to 4 buffs for your team, right? So you punch it, and it will give you up to 4 later, okay? And what these rejuves do is, if you die and your team has a rejuve charge, you will get respawned instantly after like 3 seconds, right? So if you die, you will come back with full health, which is crazy. But that's not even all of it. As long as your team possesses at least one of those buffs, you will have increased fire rate, so increased weapon damage, increased spirit power, so increased spell damage, and more health, okay? So it's an incredibly strong... It's right now, it is game defining. It is like a win or lose. Like if you get 1 or 2 mid-bosses, you probably will win the game. That's how strong that buff is. And it lasts for like 5 minutes now, right? So even if you don't die, the entire strength you have lasts for like 5 minutes, right? And basically at that point, if you have like 4 rejuves, the enemy has to win like a 6 versus 10, right? Because you're gonna have 4 people at least come back at least once in with an extra life. So it's absolutely crazy. How do you deny the mid-boss, right? You can contest it as the team that is not finishing it. You can come in, right? As the team finishes it, what you want to do is, you want to have at least one person, even if you're the team that wants to secure the mid-boss, you want to have one person that parries, right? Because obviously, as I just established, we need a heavy melee to secure this, which means And I guess we haven't even talked about parries at all, which is another mechanic, right? You parry to block the enemy from hitting it, meanwhile your team hits it, right? And you get the buffs. And I guess like parries and melees are like a video on its own, but we can mention it real quick. There's light melees and heavy melees. They're pretty good, like on some characters they're like core and they do a lot of damage. On some characters they're kind of weaker, but you can parry those melees. If you think the enemy is gonna melee you, you can press the parry button, and if they hit you while you're parrying them, they will get stunned for quite a while and they will take more damage from you. Melees are very risky, especially heavies, because they have this coordinated attack animation that the enemy can react to, right? And this loud sound that the enemy can react to, and if they parry you get stunned and you can die. This is how you end games, basically. You secure mid-boss, and now your team is strong enough, right? Now you can push walkers. Now your entire team can invade the enemy jungle, find a kill, then push a walker, and then suddenly you're in the enemy base, right? Kill the enemy shrines, and then kill the patron, and you end the game. Yeah, that's really all you need to know, okay? And everything else, of course, I try to keep it as condensated as possible. Everything else you'll learn over time. A lot of the fun in the game is learning the game, in my opinion. It's an amazing state right now. I'm having so much fun playing this game, and I hope you do too. Guess I'll do like a little bonus section here, because there's a few frequently asked questions my chat always asks, and I'll address them here. But if you came for the tutorial, thanks for watching, and it would really mean a lot if you hit me with a sub. I make videos like basically multiple times a week, guides for characters, build guides, how to play a character, and gameplay videos. So yeah, if you want to stick around, that would be cool. Otherwise, okay, little bonus section. We talked about the sinners. Question number 1 I always get is, why do I punch one sinner once? And then the other one, we answered that already. Question number 2, what crosshair am I using? The in-game crosshair options are really, really bad. Like, you can make them less ugly, right? There's like new options now where you can like disable custom hero crosshairs, but some custom hero crosshairs are really ugly if you haven't noticed yet. So you can disable this, right? And make a simple crosshair. But I disabled my crosshair, as you see, all together. I have everything off altogether, and I use a program called Crosshair X. You can get it on Steam for like $5. I think it's worth it. And it like lets you customize a crosshair and put it on the screen, right? So it's like an overlay, and you can have any crosshair you want. And like, I'm sure over time Valve will improve the crosshair options, but that's what I use for crosshair. So that's question number 2. Question number 3 is always like, what is the right build? We went over that, but I'll answer it again. Look for pro players, streamers, right? I have builds for 7, Billy, Wraith, Warden, right? Like characters I play a lot. I'll do a Victor guide very soon. Zergi, I can recommend. Deathy is amazing. Pazillion, shout out to Pazillion. And there is a lot of really good content creators and streamers and pro players, and I don't want to name everyone because that would be like half an hour long. But look for names you recognize, that people that you kind of trust with the builds, and try out different builds and see which one you like. And yeah, next question is, how do I get those health bars? Yours might look different. This is the updated version of the health bars. It's not fully implemented in the game yet, and I don't know if it's going to stay that way. I like them more than the other ones. I think these look cleaner, and they also look like that on enemy heroes. I can just see the HP more clearly. It's easier for me, right? So if you like the look of these health bars, what you do is, there's a command called, you go into console, F7, and there's a command called citadel underscore unit underscore status underscore use underscore new equals true. You put that in, and it will use the crosshair. You can also add this in your launch options on Steam. Let me show you real quick how I do it. So if you don't want to type this in every time you start the game, which you have to, what you can do is, you go into your Steam library, you click on Deadlock, you click on properties, and you put this in here, launch options, and that is going to give you the new the new health bars every time. And I didn't even talk about the main thing that these health bars give you. They show the enemy ult right on the health bar, right? You can see the enemy ult on top. Some of them are really powerful, obviously, right? Like this little eye icon below my name. If I use my ult, right, it goes on cooldown. And you can see if the enemy Infernus uses this, you can see it. right, in the game. Which is gonna help you, right? If you know the enemy doesn't have an ult, that's gonna help you. Especially for something like Lady Geist that swaps your life, right? So, in a game, when I come around the corner and I see an enemy, right? If I immediately can see it doesn't have ult, that helps me, right? Whereas on the old health bars, I would have to look at the enemy and then find them on top between 6 players and look at the icon on top and see if they have the icon, or sorry, the ultimate ready. And that's the main reason I use this new crosshair, because you can just see immediately when you look at an enemy if they have the ult or not. Okay, so that's the health bar I'm using. Yeah. And there's another question I always get, how to make your own builds. You know, once over time, if you play enough, you will get interested in making your own stuff. And I'll make a completely separate video on this because there's so much to talk about with builds. So if you're really interested in that, please let me know in the comments and I'll answer that in like a full video. Again, depending on when you watch this video, in the next few days I'll have a Victor guide out, a full Victor guide, the new zombie hero just released, really fun. And I'll make a full Drifter guide and a full Billy guide probably. I love all of those heroes and some of the new heroes are really cool. And yeah, then over time, I mean Deadlock is doing really well right now, like player base, viewer base is up. I'm really happy the game is doing well and I'll continue making content for you guys. Again, appreciate you watching and see you next time. Thank you, bye bye.